or if you would like to assist and help running it. I will always take volunteers for anything, forever. So just let me know. So that is the state of the Treasury at the moment. Thank you, and here's Damien again for the next segment.
Okay, for those who haven't seen, I'm going to touch on our rules and regulations of our bylaws. And as I was talking before, the Mirkwood Council can add rules and regulations. So if you don't feel that anything's covered, that you don't feel needs to be covered, send it up to the ways I've talked about, either talking to your wardens or talking to the Crown Princess, and she'll send it to us about vote, and we'll talk about voting on measures if you feel something needs to be covered. Big thing we have now is that don't be a douche was just too general enough, and it wasn't working for specifics. And we didn't want anybody to feel that we were kicking people out unnecessarily, or that we wanted to follow a system for when people got in trouble. Like, it shouldn't just be me deciding how everybody gets in trouble. It's not okay. It wasn't okay for how things played out beforehand. And this way, we have a system in place that is fair and affects everybody, up to and including all the council members, even me. So I feel that that's way more fair for everybody involved. The big thing is we just have a small list of prohibited behaviors, and if you violate those behaviors, then we have a disciplinary meeting with the council and then assign a penalty. So the big prohibited behaviors for instant loss of diamond are any major crime of humanity, rape, grand theft, arson, assault. It's not an exhaustive list, but it's like if you run a car through camp and hit a couple of people, vehicular manslaughter would be that would be bad. Burning down everything forever. And complete violation of our harassment policy can also result in your loss of your diamond. So if you go through the harassment process and continue to violate the gag orders or things like that, then you will be asked to give up your diamond, or we'll take your diamond from you if you be asked. Prohibited behavior for just punishable offenses, which are offenses underneath just removing diamonds, are acts of douchebaggery, which qualifies for unfriendly and mean-spirited acts towards others, abuse of authority or perceived authority, and violating event rules. So that's stuff where we can get into like probation or warnings for what you're doing, depending on the severity. Punishments for these things are all decided by the council. So we look and see what the severity of your thing. Well, first we investigate to see if you actually did anything wrong. So people bring stuff up, and then we look into it, and then it's just lies or conjecture, and then nothing actually happened. We're also not going to be we're not policing people's relationship stuff. He stole my girlfriend is not a reason to approach the council to get somebody in trouble. People can't get stolen. That's not how those things work. So most interpersonal problems will just mediate out. That's not actual but if someone actually did something bad, that's in violated event rules or
went up there, stabbed them.
Well, so again, stabbing's probably going to get your diamond.
Assault.
Yeah, assault.
He stole my girlfriend. No, seriously, she's in his trunk.
Kidnapping is actually an offense. She went along willingly. Now, I mean, if she wanted him to tie her up and put her in the trunk, that's just kinky. That's not. If it involves a safe word, it's just kinky. It's not kidnapping. It's not. So that's something to remember there. So punishments can include warning, which is no punishments for the first offense, but the similar offense will lead to probation for the next time. Probation lasts a year, and what happens if you're on probation is you're ineligible to vote or hold positions of office within Mirkwood, and subsequent offenses will lead to loss of diamond. So if you're on probation and you do the same offense, we're going to pull your diamond. which seems fair. But that's your warning.
That's being a douche.
Yeah. And then if you lose your diamond, you're kicked out for a minimum of 1 year, and you must seek permission from the council to rejoin, to start back on watch. Which means that after your year of being kicked out, you can then request a meeting with the council, and then we would vote on whether you could be let in. Because some things, like if you stabbed a guy 27 times and we felt it was unnecessary, probably won't be let back in.
Should've just done 26 times, dude. Should've just done 26.
24 would have been just fine. Went over.
I'm gonna bring Nightshade up to talk about the harassment policy since it's her baby. So, if you want to.
Wait,
Hello.
hold on.
Back again. I came up with a harassment policy because one of the issues that seem to have been reoccurring is when someone has asked another member to stop communicating, talking to them, bothering them, you know, harassing behaviors, they wouldn't. And there's no repercussion, or there was no repercussion for not doing so. We have a lot of shy, quieter members who, you know, won't step up or say anything because they don't want to cause a bigger problem because they know that they had no one on their side previously. I've come up with a harassment policy for us to use, and it has gone into effect once so far successfully, and the other few attempts have been mediated before it needed to be put into placement, which is great. I would love nothing more than for us to be able to mediate things before ever having to use a policy like this. These will be kept on record. They are also by request only. It is not our responsibility to micromanage everyone's personal relationship with everyone else. It's just not. This is also a last resort. As I stated before, if we can mediate by any means, we can mediate before it comes to this, please. We ask everyone to do their best and try and work their issues and respect each other's boundaries. Use the chain of command as your own personal leader should be the next step in conflict resolution and mediation. Here's basically how it works. Person A
Have an idiot.
There keeps being little dings on the phone, it's distracting. Person A will come to the crown prince or princess, at this point it is verbal, and let them know of a situation, what they have done to try and resolve it, and to make the request that person B.
Hold on. Oh, we don't have any sound going on.
You hold the thing.
Yeah, we got this?
Yep, there we go.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Alright. So here's how they work. Person A will come to the crown princess, which is currently verbal, and let them know of the situation, what they have done to try and resolve it, and to make a request that person B does not communicate with them any further. The crown prince or princess will contact person B and speak with them and let them know that an anti-harassment procedure has been called for and communicate the rules of this situation, or for this situation. Neither person is allowed to make contact or communication with the other. No phone calls, texts, social media messages, private or otherwise, snail mails, letters, etc. Do not speak to each other in any way, shape, or form. That is what this is about. Person A should do what they can to unfriend, block communication from person B, and it is suggested that person B do the same. If they're on your Facebook, if they have your phone number, if they can get a hold of you anyways, do your part and cut off communication. You can block phone numbers. You can block people on social medias. Like I said, we ask that both parties do this, but it's definitely important for the person initializing the procedure. The anti-harassment order lasts 6 months, starting the date of communication with the person B about the order. So the moment verbal contacts the person and lets them know that this has become an issue and puts it into effect, it's 6 months from that day, and as I said, it will be recorded. Person A can request to lift the anti-harassment order via the same channel it was requested. If you decide that you no longer want to have the restraining order, go to verbal and let her know. On the flip side of that coin, person B has the right to deny the lift and keep the anti-harassment order in effect if they wish. This is not a one-sided road. Most importantly, do not make contact with person B yourself. If either side breaks the anti-harassment order, failing to respect personal boundaries and making contact with other person, you will have immediate disciplinary action. All media is time, date stamped and can and will be reviewed by counsel as proof of breaking the order, referring, timestamp, and record of anti-harassment order. If either show up in person to the other's living space or confront the other at an event, contact authority on any level, whether it is your unit leader or one, the emperor or I, verbal, including the police if it's really getting to that point and police need to be involved, involve the police. Do not respond to your harasser. So that's the basic gist of the anti-harassment. If someone just will not leave you alone, come up to us and let us know and be like, hey, person's bugging. And we'll be like, okay, let's try and solve the problem. Can't solve the problem, okay, well then how about you just don't talk to each other? There are literally several acres of land and usually a good amount of space at any event that we're at. There's anywhere from, several dozens to several thousands of people that you can be talking to, interacting with. If you have a problem with someone, just leave them alone, If they have a problem with you and won't leave you alone, let someone know and we will inform them that they need to leave you alone. There's no reason to be harassing each other. This is one big family. We can do this. We can be adults. Go us. All right. So back to Damien on the next section.
Okay. Just a couple things I wanted to go over before we get out of the bylaw stuff is it does make mention of the cult system, and mostly that's for all of our major gods of Mirkwood, which have a cult divided for them. Some of them are national groups, the Cult of Hydration. Also another group that you can volunteer for and is very important. So everybody needs to be hydrated. They love to have extra people. They're carrying water bottles and stuff like that. It's really fun. You get to meet lots of people. It's a really fun time. All the other gods, there's Cult of Wind, Cult of Char, Cult of Earth, and Cult of Heart, which is also more in-house, but is also volunteer appropriated groups. The Cult of...
So is there a Cult of Captain Planet?
Not yet. I guess if you volunteered for all of them, you might be Captain Planet.
What about the Cult of Cults?
I thought you could only be in one cult originally.
I mean, as far as I know, you could volunteer for the Cult of Hydration and then volunteer for other cults. I mean,
Right, but I thought
You could only
be in one cult. It
Well, I
says-
mean, you only have, you might be only a cultist for one person. That's all your pesky stuff in your head. I don't care if you volunteer for other people. That's up to the individual gods and stuff like that. I'm assuming Bucci wouldn't care if you're in the Cult of Hydration and then help out for the other things too. I'm sorry, I'm talking for him, but. The Cult of Winds is in charge of volunteerism and then projectile weapons. So if your thing is archery or volunteerism, then we've got a cult for that. The Cult of Char is all about fire pits, fire safety, and the fire department. So if your thing is fire, that's matches want you to set things on fire safely. Safely. The Cult of Earth is engineers and in charge of building walls, siege weapons. If you're into making things, Outside of like the Edison stuff, like if you just want to help, set up the walls, set up siege and full project stuff for a thing. You can get your artisanships doing those things, but then that's the thing for you. And then Cult of Heart is in charge of camp setup, which is the other side, kind of the wall setup stuff. It's more the internal camp setup stuff, helping to to get everybody in their rows, helping to do logistical ends of stuff, and camp maintenance and camp cleanup, which we always need help with. The other thing I wanted to touch on just real quick, which is abuse of power or perceived power. None of these people here that I've listed down is immune to any of the rules of the bylaws. If they're abusing the power, or you feel like they're abusing their power, get a hold of somebody. Even if it's including me. Get a hold of the next person, and then we will have a discipline hearing that does not that obviously involves them, but they're not allowed to vote. That's why Virgil is the other position. She can represent me at a meeting that I can't be at or couldn't be represented at if I say I'm in a disciplinary meeting. But she can also be used to represent somebody else that is in a disciplinary hearing. So, I'm not saying anybody is doing anything wrong, but if you ever feel that any position or any unit leader or anything like that is violating the trust that we're putting in them, tell us, let us know. Like that's very important. So, she's taking a phone call.
Pizza. Bacon.
The next thing I have is a Q&A thing or some frequently asked questions that Nightshade has that she was going to get back to people on. We can move on and do the live Q&A first though. If anybody's got any live questions in the chat that would like me to answer anything, let me know.
Waiting on people to respond.
Why is every position voted on except for Emperor and Crown Princess?
And War Marshal.
And War Marshal, yes.
So the question that was that Roic gave was why all the positions except for Emperor and Crown Princess and technically War Marshal aren't.
Yeah, it's not for me. It's like I've had a lot of people asking me about that.
Big thing currently, it's the one matriarchal, so the one part that's still matriarchal about our thing is that we're keeping it in the ultra family line. I can understand if people would like to vote on everything. Most of the stuff that happens day to day are decided more about, all of our major things are all decided by the council. My job is mostly to be a figurehead and make sure the spirit of this whole thing kind of is the same, and I feel that that's a better position you can use to handpick somebody. To keep everybody honest is the real thing.
Also, it causes us to have a consistency, which, with a constant changing people in charge, makes it much harder for people to know who to go to for a lot. Oh wow. Okay. The camera's on me. It makes it a lot easier. Oh, okay. This works for me. Okay. The other reason to have it. Can you hear me now?
There you go.
Okay. The other reason to have it as one person stay is consistency, so everyone knows who to go to. If there is a problem with the council continuously changing every year, it means that you may go to a person who's no longer in charge anymore and that cannot help you. If you have one person in charge,
you could still ask for
itself
one live
has some
Q&A.
kind of consistency to grow from. Where right now, a lot of our problems over the last couple of years have been because we have a very inconsistent control where we went from Shatterhaze to Mo to Damien to jumping around like this has caused more problems than if we stay with one person for a while. That's at least my thought on it.
Thank you, Mike.
Yes.
Okay, is there any other questions from the chat or in people of attendance?
I'm not seeing any down here.
Anybody have anything? Nothing? Nothing? Bueller?
Fry.
I've seen a lot of people in the chat. I guess it's good that you don't have a lot of questions. It means we explained everything well.